Well, today marked the end of the second week of the au pair affair trial. Brendan Banfield was scheduled to testify today, but he never made it to the witness stand. But Banfield's defense team continued to make their arguments. Our Katie Lusso, along with body language expert Janine Driver and criminal defense attorney Frank Salvato, have been following every moment of this trial today. They join us now with an update. Katie, take it away.
Yeah, hi there, Lorenzo. Obviously, we know court ended today at 5 o'clock. We did not hear from Brendan Banfield, and Frank, I'm going to get to you about that in just a moment. But I do want to start with you, Janine Driver, former ATF body language expert. You have been looking at what we've been looking at, right? We've been seeing this entire trial unfold. Let's start with Juliana. I know we do have some video we can play as well, but take me through kind of your interpretation of what's going on there when she's talking.
Yes, you're going to see some controlled management of her movement, and it's very fake. It's very fake, and the reason I say that, she has these big giant gestures here. At one point she puts her right hand on her hip. There, she's touching her forehead right now. Her elbows are out, taking up this space. Here's the deal, when truthful people get overwhelmed, we tend to get small, we implode. Where we see Juliana, the au pair, implode is after this whole fake shenanigans that she's doing here, then she gets down into this fetal position. So right here, look what happens. Truthful people can still talk in complete sentences. So they may touch their face, which we're going to talk about not only with her, but with Brendan as well. They may touch their face, but liars, when they start to touch their face, what happens here, Katie, is they have short, little statements, and I need a water, they'll get distracted. They'll do anything to avoid having to tell the lie that they're about to do. Our brain doesn't want us to lie, Katie. And so what happens is our body will all of a sudden hijack our system here. So this is incredibly staged and fake that we see. These short sentences, we've seen this with many, many murder cases where they'll all of a sudden say three things, and they're called start-stop sentences. Someone who's emotional can still talk, still touch their face, and continue with their long narrative about what happened. When we have these short start-stop sentences, it's very suspicious. So right out of the gate, we have this really theatrical hand gestures that we see her do, but yet the sentences aren't being completed. That's why it's an incredible hotspot for us with the detecting deception world. Look at her too, by the way, pacing back and forth. Those are pre-assault indicators. So usually when someone has gone through some trauma, they might be rocking themselves, but where she's kind of blading her body a little bit, moving back and forth, it's like subconsciously she wants out of here, Frank. She's like, I want out. So we see that pacing and blading of the body. Also in fight, flight, or freeze, you'll see people kind of looking around because subconsciously they want out of there.
Right. And we talked earlier about some of the cultural differences here. Obviously, she's Brazilian, but you know, I'm an Italian. I talk with my hands. We see her talking with her hands. Can you talk a little bit about the hand gestures? I know earlier you were talking about the difference when you move your hands like this.
Yes, so when we are authentic and we're telling the truth, we will put our hands out. And by the way, when someone lies, it's not like every single thing is a lie. Some aspects of it will be truthful. As a matter of fact, if they're smart liars, they'll stack the deck up front with truthful things. I got here at 1 o'clock. I did this. I did that. I was the au pair for X amount of months. So they'll stack the deck. We heard that with Brendan with the 911 call. Hey, this is my house. My name is this. This is my house, not our house. So right here, what we're seeing, sometimes her gestures come out. These are the moments where I think she's probably telling us the truth. I'm overwhelmed. This is scary. This is, and the hand gestures come out. When our palms face ourselves, this is where we're holding information back. By the way, this is very primal, Katie and you at home. This goes back to caveman days where I'm showing you I don't have a weapon. This is where handshakes came from. Hey, nice to meet you, to show you. Now it's instinctual. When we tell the truth, we will literally show the palms of our hands and sometimes the wrist of our hands. And when people are talking and they go A, B, C, D, E, F, I want to know what happened at D, E, F. Why all of a sudden did their hand gestures? Hey, where were you tonight? Oh, I went out with some friends from work. Oh yeah, anyone interesting show up there? No, nobody interesting. And now the palms are facing me. Now I'm wondering, was his ex-girlfriend there? Because why, when I asked that follow-up question, did the behavior change? We always look for what's called a baseline. So what's the baseline of this person when we know that she's telling something that's truthful? If she's telling us she's an au pair, we know that's a truthful statement. So we're going to look at her baseline as much as we can with statements we know that are true. But here, look, we see her hand gestures. Look, it almost looks like they're coming towards us, but they're not. They're coming up or they're coming towards herself. But this pacing back and forth and this big dramatic, this is a performance. This is a performance.
I do want to talk about Brendan really quickly with you and then with you, Frank. specifically some of the legalities here. If we're able to show just a clip or two of Brendan in the courtroom when he's sitting there, you can see him there. I know we do want to get to Frank's analysis as well, but just your initial thoughts when you're watching.
Oh my gosh, there's so much happening right here. So there's 3 different zones on our face. So we have zone 1, 2, and 3. Zones 1 and 2 are our forehead and our eyes. And usually this is where innocent people will go, to the forehead and the eyes. But when innocent people do it, look what we just saw here with Brendan. It's very robotic, it's very stiff. When someone is innocent and they're touching their forehead and they're rubbing their eyes, they're doing a couple things. They touch their head, but then they look at Frank. They look at their lawyer. They might look at somebody else. So in anguish, when we are emotional, we will still look at people. We don't have that here. As a matter of fact, he's fake wiping these tears. How do we know that? He touches his face right here, Katie, about 6 times. Really, maybe there's a fake 1 or 2 tears. Why is he touching his face so often? He's not looking at any of us. He's staying in the middle zone, which is our nose right here and our cheeks. And a lot of liars will stay in that middle zone. In our nose, we have erectile tissue. When we get overly emotional, you'll see people touching that. And we're not seeing it here, but I'll give you this one last point, which is sometimes his hand is touching his face. When we see him and his thumb is literally pushing into his cheek, high stress moments, this is where the courtroom, he is hearing something that's different than the story he's been telling us. So when that happens, the brain is saying, keep your mouth shut, keep your mouth shut, but there is what's called cognitive dissonance. He knows the truth is being said most likely on the stand or potentially on the stand, and it's different from what he's told the police. So we see this big, huge, high-level pacifier happen on his face. This is fake. This is all stage performance. The 2 of them went to the same terrible acting school that Jussie Smollett went into when he lied about this whole state hate crime back in Chicago. I don't know if you remember the Jussie Smollett case. This is fake acting. It's really bad.
All right, thank you for your analysis here. Frank, I do want to bring you in because, we were talking about how Brendan Banfield was expected to take the stand. We heard John Carroll say this morning before the jury was brought in that he planned to call Brendan Banfield to the stand. We did not see that happen. What we did see was this slow, what almost felt like dragging process of getting through that witness who was testifying about some of the forensics here. Talk to me about why you think he took that process, especially if we thought Brendan was going to take the stand.
Yeah, I think the defense here is making an evaluation about whether he is needed to take the stand. I think what we saw on the au pair's testimony is she was essentially eviscerated on her cross-examination. And I think some of that same body language that you may have seen on the scene, we also saw that when she was on the witness stand. So the jury looking at that au pair's testimony might be thinking, you know what, I don't believe her. She got a great deal, and she did get a great deal. So she was knocked around pretty good, eviscerated, I would say. So I think the defense at this point is making a determination. Do they need my client to testify? Do they need him to testify in order to reach that reasonable doubt, create reasonable doubt? I think they're going to take the weekend to make a determination on that. I know he indicated that he may take the stand, Mr. Banfield. I would be surprised if he takes the stand because I think the defense has done a really good job at getting to creating reasonable doubt. They may not need him at all.
Talk to me about the pros and cons of this, because obviously we talked earlier, high risk, high reward though. Talk to me about the pros and cons of both for the defense and the prosecution to bring Brendan Banfield up there.
Big risk, big reward. So if he takes the stand and the jury sees some bad body language or he makes any misstep, that's his life. The jury's going to be examining him with a fine-tooth comb. They are laser focused on him when he takes the stand. All of a sudden, the focus goes from the poor testimony of Ms. Magalese to Mr. Banfield's testimony. The jury now forgets about her testimony and just focuses on him. So the cons are pretty high. If he makes any misstep or the prosecutor is able to cross-examine him effectively, his life is over. He's going to get life in prison. But high reward. If he's able to marshal some of that emotion, genuine emotion, if he's able to elicit his story and tell the jury face-to-face what happened, that's impactful. Now, if he doesn't testify, the court's going to instruct the jury, you can't consider that. If he does testify, the court's going to tell the jury, you can consider that. And you have to view him in the same way you would any other witness. If he comes through, he could be acquitted, but he has to really come through. He's got to hit a home run. He can't be standing on second base. If he's standing on second base, he's going to end up going to jail. But the defense has done a really nice job up to this point. The question is, do they call him or not? I would, in my experience, not call him. Mr. Banfield may demand on his own to take the stand over his defense attorney's position.
Yeah, and we've seen him be in such close contact with his defense attorney. He's writing notes, he's in constant communication. You know, from a juror's perspective, if you're a defense attorney and you've been to so many of these trials similar to this, do the jurors expect him to get up there and testify?
I think the jurors, remember, the court has given preliminary instructions, and the court will give final instructions. And they cannot consider his failure to testify in any way, shape, or form. This trial's been going on, what, 2 weeks now? It's going to stretch into a third week. In the jury room, if he doesn't testify, if any juror even mentions the fact that he didn't testify, that can be cause for a mistrial. So I think the jury's going to be really adamant, really strong to follow the judge's instructions to a T, to the letter. I don't think they're going to discuss it at all. They might be thinking about whether he's going to testify or not, but I don't think they're going to hold it against him if he doesn't.
One last thing I do want to get to with you, Frank. We heard at the end of court wrapped up at 5:03 p.m. today, and we heard the judge. We heard her this morning, we heard her last night talking about how she wants to get things rolling. She wants things to get wrapped up here. She told them she wanted it to end today. That did not happen. But we heard her at the end talking about how she doesn't want her time to be wasted. She doesn't want the jurors' time to be wasted. She clearly is getting frustrated. Your thoughts there, Frank?
I think what the defense was doing there is kind of walking the trial very slowly because he wants the entire weekend to evaluate his case. Does he call his client? Does he call any additional witnesses? So I think he went at a lightning pace initially, cross-examining the government's witnesses, but now he's really slowed it down. I think he was just trying to get to 5 o'clock so he could take the weekend to really do a thorough evaluation and see what he was going to do next.
You know, when he said this morning that he planned to call Brendan Banfield, again, the jurors were not in the room. So, you know, we had this expectation, but they didn't have that expectation. What is your gut telling you in terms of this? Do you think he'll get on the stand? Do you think he was planning to put him on the stand today, or was that kind of a...
There's some strategy there, right? Because if he's told the prosecutor and the judge to some extent that he may call Mr. Banfield, they're going to take the weekend preparing a cross-examination. He may stand up on Monday or Tuesday or whenever court is back in session and say, you know what, we've decided we're not going to call Mr. Banfield. We're ready for closing statements. So now he's kind of chewed up the prosecutor's time all weekend, and all of a sudden, boom, the trial's ready for closing statement. It could be a strategy situation. It could be legitimate. All is fair in a trial like this. All the gloves are off. So we'll see what happens.
All right, thank you both so much. Frank Salvato, criminal defense attorney, Janine Driver, body language and words expert. I think that's important to mention as well. And now just a quick update for you. We are monitoring how this weekend weather storm could impact court next week. Once court is back in session, we will bring you live coverage of every moment of this trial. And you can watch all of our coverage streaming on WUSA 9 Plus and on our WUSA 9 YouTube channel. Here's Topper.